Hello and welcome to session 1 of Beyond Abuse, an Empowered Journey, the workshop. First off, congratulations. It's a brave step to face your abuse and choose to transform your story into one that is empowered and fulfilled. I'm Martha, the author of Beyond Abuse, the creator of this course, and your facilitator. As someone who has taken the journey beyond abuse and knows a little bit about what you're going through, I am sincerely honored and humbled to have you here with me. I know the torment, but I also know what it feels like to have that aha moment when the torment releases. This session introduces you to the rest of the course. Each session is broken into 2 parts. A talk relating to a chapter in the book, and an energy process at the end. The energy process is where you release the negative long-term effects that have held you hostage. This opens the space for you to reclaim your power, not give it away, and take your life in the direction that you choose, all without being held back by the haunting effects of abuse. As we go along, you will gain clarity, but you may need some assistance, so please reach out. The classes are self-directed, so please remember, have a journal, notepad handy, and take breaks when you need to. So let's get started. Beyond Abuse. Why bother with this book in this class? Aren't there thousands of self-help programs out there already? Don't you want to just forget about your abuse? I mean, come on, really. Who really wants to talk about abuse? No one. But it's important for so many reasons. It's certainly not party conversation. Show up at a party. Hey everybody, let's talk about abuse. No, that's just not cool. But if you get all the unresolved emotional crap out of your life that abuse has caused, you might just have a better time at that next gathering. When you authentically free yourself from the internal struggles, all of life's interactions become less stressful, more joyful, and you'll experience greater success. That's the why. This course will help you bridge the gap between the clinical and the self-help so you can feel the improvements in a tangible way. Stick with me and you'll see for yourself that it works. There may be effects of abuse that are yet unrecognized, because as survivors, we were conditioned to believe many falsehoods about ourselves. So we've held it inside where the pain festers. Truth once revealed may be painful at first, but once released, we don't have to remain stuck in the past, nor do we have to forget. The empowered part of the journey changes the way we perceive ourselves. The change in perception enables us to release the negative energetic charges from our cellular memory. Clearing our cellular memory is different than releasing memory from the brain, which is nearly impossible to do. Cellular memory means that every experience we have, we place somewhere in our bodies, which can cause havoc with our health and well-being. Modern science in the field of cellular memory and the mind-body-spirit connection is bridging the gaps between science and pseudoscience. There is documented research as to how many symptoms and diagnoses can be related back to abuse, physically, mentally, emotionally. Stored memory has to be brought into our awareness for us to take that first step to release it and heal. That doesn't mean reliving the story. It's about the awareness. It's really interesting to see how many physical conditions can heal spontaneously when we deal with stored emotion. This is not to deny the value of traditional medical care or counseling. They can be and should be used in conjunction. Releasing pain and falsely imprinted belief opens the doorway to a more fulfilling life. Our restless souls have been crying out to discover what a more fulfilled life feels like. Ask yourself, is how you feel about the experience of abuse more important than how you feel about yourself now? I've taken the empowered journey. The more conscious I became and the more at peace I began to feel, the more inspired I became to share this information with you. Now, statistics vary, but it's been said that up to 24% of the US population claims to have been sexually abused before the age of 18. 24%. And that's only what's been reported. Add in what hasn't been reported. I don't know about you, but the majority of the people and the majority of survivors I know never reported their abuse, nor did I. Add on all the other types of abuses in the world, and we might find abuse might possibly be the #1 challenge we face in society. Abuse that we did not deserve, but impacted us in ways that we have suppressed because society has suppressed the issue. Does that make it important to talk about? I think so. We suppressed our experiences as a survival tactic. We know abuse creates long-term effects that messes with our psyche. Bringing these effects to the surface helps us heal and grow without reliving the trauma and the story over and over and over and over. Abuse also sets us up for compounded effects in many ways. If not dealt with, we risk miscreating rather than consciously creating that life that we want. Denying and not dealing with traumas, regardless of the type, meaning physical, mental, or emotional, whatever the type, can be the cause of unintentional self-abuse and self-sabotage. There are rumblings inside us that know something wants to be released. That something is the empowered, authentic you, the person that you came to this planet to be. We need to release the fears that stop us from taking those steps forward. And we want to do that without unleashing the beast that comes from a wounded ego. Learning about ego and how to properly integrate it into our authentic self is something we will learn throughout the sessions. The ego serves a purpose. We can learn to control and release the triggers that are re-traumatizing and re-victimizing. In this course, when we dive into our stories, it will be as an observer only. Why? So you'll feel safe, in which allows your soul at a core level to more accurately identify the emotions that are stuck. From there, we can release the painful emotion and vanquish them from our reality. And by the way, one of the definitions of vanquish is to gain mastery over. This is about mastering your own life in your own way. Everyone has basic needs for survival: food, water, shelter, sleep, clothing. Saying it's unfortunate that we had to survive abuse is an understatement. Many survivors even had their basic needs for survival threatened if they didn't stay quiet or obey. So safety should be added to our list of basic needs. It's time to go beyond victimization and beyond mere survival. We want more than to just survive. We all deserve a happy life. We want to thrive. If we look beyond the basic needs for survival, there are 5 things we all want. We want peace, freedom, fulfillment, love, and joy. When you say these words, if you allow them to resonate in your heart, likely you'll find yourself saying, yeah, I want that too. So let's do it. Let's take a moment and repeat the words. Start taking some full, deep belly breaths. In and out. Close your eyes. And as I say these words to you, let them be absorbed into your heart center. Peace, freedom, fulfillment, love, joy. Now open your eyes. Likely they created a sense of peace and lightness. However, there is a distinct possibility something may have caused you to feel resistance. Fear, lack, and self-worth come into play. Fear and lack are programmed beliefs that are self-defeating. And maybe you feel nothing at all. Feeling nothing is not always neutrality. It could be fear or denial. And no one wants to deny themselves happiness. So ask yourself, if you knew there was an ingrained fear blocking you from having a much better life, would you do everything you could to release that fear? Would you at least give it a try? I'll bet you would. So what are the major emotions that stop us from moving forward? They are shame, blame, guilt, denial, rejection, and indifference, and all the ugly related aspects. These emotions don't resonate the same because they are of a lower vibration. They make you feel down, sick, irritated. And this is what we're going to focus on releasing. We live in a world of duality that can be overwhelming. It can make us feel separate, doubt our choices, or like we don't have a choice. This is disconnected from ourselves, from our higher power. Understanding duality helps us reconnect. In these sessions, we will explore duality, in this case, meaning opposing emotions. You can't fully know or comprehend an emotion without knowing its exact opposite. We will also replace negative feelings with ones that are ideal. The word idea is in the word ideal, so is replacing negative feelings with ideal feelings a good idea? Yeah, it's a great idea. When we go on a journey of self-exploration, we learn to accept that we live in a chaotic world of duality. We even find things to appreciate within the contradictions. And appreciation is not the same as gratitude. No one is grateful for being abused. While a gratitude journal is helpful, first we must learn to accept that we live in a world of good and evil. Full well knowing that abuse is an unacceptable evil. I brought up the lack of recognition. The thing is, sometimes you just don't know what you just don't know until you know it. Attention, awareness, appreciation, and acceptance. This is our starting point to guide us to the higher vibration of inner peace. They lead to heart-centered knowing where peace and sovereignty reside. Consciousness is the goal. And I'm sure you're going to get tired of hearing me say any variation of the word consciousness. But it's important to breaking the old programming. Living consciously is a highly developed state of awareness, particularly of oneself and ego. Living consciously will help us find and connect the missing pieces of our soul. In this life that we are living, we don't know what lies beyond consciousness, but it's not the end. To heal, we need aha moments. Sometimes we need a big spotlight to get our attention, or sometimes we just need to notice and think, that was very interesting. For that, we need attention and awareness. In these sessions, we will talk about things to help you identify emotions that are blocking your healing journey. We are going to talk a lot about the mind-body-spirit connection, and you will discover for yourself exactly how that applies to you personally. As you learn about being the observer of your life, you will more actively pay attention to living and participating in life on your terms. Being the observer and doing the processes in a gentle way will help you feel that safety zone. Rather than relive your hurtful and traumatic experiences, you will no longer perceive yourself as a victim. The change in perception allows us to transform those experiences into what will benefit and propel your life's journey. Rather than attract similar drama, you will be awakened, enlightened, and more vibrant. We must first learn to trust our intuition. Abuse is extremely complex, and we can't just wish it away, and we just can't just flip a switch. So be patient and gentle with yourself. Give yourself permission to heal. Your soul will know when you are ready to let go. Remember, it wasn't just one event that created your inner disturbances. We will uncover many clues along the way. To try to do it all at once is overwhelming, and that's not good, and why the safety zone is so important. Much of what we will discuss will sound esoteric, maybe a little airy-fairy or way far out there. But I promise you that if you stick with this, you will see how very practical consciousness can be. And this is why I say, with a little practice, anything can become practical. It won't be work. It'll become natural. It'll be natural to feel alive. One thing you do not want to do is let anyone discourage you from taking a journey that makes you feel better. As the saying goes, misery loves company. And anybody who wants to keep you stuck in misery has their own journey to contend with. So give yourself permission to choose empowerment. You are not responsible for the misery of others. And it is quite possible that seeing you become empowered may encourage someone else to take their own journey. But that's their choice. I ask that you stay out of judgment, especially of yourself, and allow for possibilities. Abuse is a huge issue. One type often leads to another, and the challenges run really deep. With so many layers and side effects, it can be hard to know exactly where to start the healing journey. But like anything else, it starts one step at a time. So here's a quote from the infamous Sigmund Freud. Unexpressed emotions will never die. They are buried alive and will come forth later in uglier ways. So what do you think? Is this a primary reason why we would want to take a healing journey? Trust me, it is more painful to live an entire lifetime trying to bury the past than it is to face it and free yourself from the agony. As David Bowie would say, turn and face the change. If we deal with unexpressed emotions, you don't have to worry about those uglier ways causing some form of regret. And we know regret sucks. When we find ourselves feeling regret, we can use the awareness of regret as an opportunity for personal growth. We can find something to appreciate in the experience and remember to forgive ourselves for our human flaws. Once released, the things that were lingering below the surface no longer has power over us. Ignoring them and trying to escape solves nothing. Unexpressed emotions are untreated wounds that fester. The suppression builds internal pressure. And we want to learn to express, not suppress. And we want to express with heartfelt truth. When we express with heartfelt truth, we know that we did our best and we can be at peace with our choices. Fortunately, we live in a time when we can speak up without being hushed, persecuted, or disbelieved. Although the harsh reality is that suppression does still exist to a great degree. Regardless, the healing journey is yours to take however you choose to take it. Because of the long-term effects created by unconscious emotions, please know there may be times when you feel a little worse before you feel better. It's temporary. After surviving abuse, healing from it is nothing you can't handle. Embracing ourselves is the only way to regain long-term vitality. In embracing the darkness, you become the light. Feeling worse might just be that little extra push you need to make badly needed change, inspired change. The whole point is for you to feel good. And that starts with feeling better on the inside. When you feel better on the inside, your whole outer world improves. Of course, there will still be challenges along the way. That's a part of normal life. But it will be a life without tolerating abuse or suffering its side effects. I will caution you about escapism. We all need breaks. We all need time to step away, to process some of the emotion. And you should give yourself permission for the appropriate time to rest. This is not the same as escaping. Escaping issues is a form of denial and can lead to suppressive, self-destructive behavior. That's one of those compounded effects of abuse. Now we're going to move on to a big issue. Love. There's a popular movement who will tell you to just love yourself. Just send love to the world. Really? Just send love to your abuser? I don't think so. Everyone wants to be loved. The problem is that abuse creates the feeling of being unlovable. Our sense of what love is becomes distorted and warped. We don't know what loving ourselves feels like. In seeking peace, healing begins on a much deeper level than ever imagined. You can have love without peace, but once you have peace, love follows. From my experience, it is important to focus on peace, especially inner peace, as the first goal. Love has many different variations, and not all of them are healthy or real love. Once we find peace and sovereignty within ourselves, then we can begin to understand what real love is without the distortions. Then we can learn to truly love ourselves. As we go along, we will expand on that, but for now, trust. The energetic processes releases the chains, the armor, and the baggage we carry around our heart. When we learn to find strength in vulnerability, it creates a lightness of being. That lightness of being is a feeling of peace, and why we start our consciously created, empowered journey with seeking peace. With peace in our hearts, we can begin to laugh through the chaos. We're going to talk about love, but love is not our starting point. Session 2 is going to explain a lot more about that. Seeking peace opens the doorway to conscious knowing. Conscious knowing as a result of practicing awareness and trusting your intuition. As I mentioned earlier, there is a lecture for each chapter in the book. However, since what we are working on is deep, complex, and intertwined, we are going to bounce a little bit. Some things have to spiral in and spiral back out. So stick with me. It will come together. Before we go any further, I want to do a brief exercise. Attention, awareness, and peace. We're going to create a pink bubble of safety. This will help you whenever you are triggered into an emotional tailspin. You can get into that pink bubble and not let the trigger affect you. So everybody sit up straight. Take a deep breath. Shake out your arms, loosen up, start to shift some energy. Just get things moving. Now, okay, close your eyes. Start to breathe deep, full belly breathing. I have a hard time with that word today, belly breathing. In and out. With your eyes closed, place attention on honoring and appreciating yourself for being in this moment. Be aware of how your body feels. Notice any resistance. Embrace the resistance and just send it away. Feel your essence, your true essence, settling into your physical body. Now we're going to take 3 really deep belly breaths, either in and out through the nose, or in through the nose and out through the mouth, whatever you choose. So we're going to breathe in for 4 and pause, and then out for 4 and pause. Ready? In, 2, 3, 4, pause. Out, 2, 3, 4, pause. In, 2, 3, 4, pause. Out, 2, 3, 4, pause. In, 2, 3, 4, pause. And out, 2, 3, 4, pause. Keep your eyes closed and continue to deep breathe as we move on to the next step. Begin to see a pink ball of light being offered to you from a pure source. Whatever source shows up, as long as it's pure. It could be an angel, a spirit guide, an ancestor, even an animal spirit, so long as it is pure. Put your hands out and see yourself accepting this pink light. And allow this pink light to expand all around you. See it get bigger and bigger as it covers you from head to toe. This is a bubble of protection and safety. Nothing can permeate the bubble that you don't give permission to. This is your safe space. Get really comfortable in it. See it. Feel it. Notice it. 360 degrees around you. Play with it. In this space, the past has no control over you. Allow yourself to be comforted by its tranquility. Continue to breathe deep And focus on the word peace. And as you do, notice how the light sparkles, dances, and moves through every cell in your being. Breathe in and breathe out. And now place your attention on your heart center. Breathe in, breathe out. Allow the feeling of peace to wash over you and through you. If you notice any darkness, allow the light to shine into it and illuminate the darkness. Breathe peace deep into your heart. Breathe peace out to your universe. Breathe peace deep into your heart. Breathe peace out to your universe. Breathe peace deep into your heart and send peace out to your universe. Now imagine bright white translucent light surrounding the bubble. This is an added layer of reinforcement, protection, and safety. See it dance. See it sparkle. Allow some of the white light to permeate into the bubble and blend with the pink. See yourself as being made of pure light. No matter what else is occurring in the outside world, allow peace to be your guiding life. Life begins with breath, and so a new you will begin with the breath of peace. One more deep breath in, and a really strong exhale. Open your eyes. Each time you practice this, peace will last a little longer. It's time to take a conscious journey beyond mere survival. As survivors of abuse, there are many things we did to protect ourselves emotionally. We reacted from a place of basic survival instinct and not from a place of conscious awareness. Survival mode is something we can learn to appreciate for the purpose it served in the past. It's important to know the difference between when it does serve and when it doesn't serve. We all have moments or glimpses of a better life, but what will it take to make peace, freedom, fulfillment, love, and joy predominant? To allow it to permeate your world, allow it to be permanently enabled. Each of us is worthy of a good life. Pay attention to how your positive and negative self-talk affects you and others. As you continue with your practice towards empowerment, journaling about your experience is something I highly recommend. Remember, it's your private journal. So you can hiss, spit, vent your anger or your sadness as much as you want, and it's none of anybody else's business but yours. Once you've vented, put yourself into the observer state. Use your pink bubble as a tool and start to write again. Write about your experience, but this time from a place of peace and calm in your heart. Let your heart speak truth. Journaling about your experience starts the process of releasing burden from your soul. You can even ceremoniously destroy the negative writing and get rid of it, if that makes you feel better. You can burn it up. Make sure you do it in a safe place. Learn to identify the difference between negative or overreactive emotion and authentic feelings. Emotions can be highly charged and come from ego. Feelings are sovereign and come from an integrated heart, body, mind, and soul. Passion is more of a feeling without the ego attachment. We are human. It's okay to have emotional feelings. So much in our world has been desensitized. People fear expressing emotion, or they feel someone else's expression. And that might sound a little contradictory. But in learning to become more conscious, the differences will become more clear. Fair or not, society often sees survivors as damaged goods. Knowing this makes it easy to see where all the shame, blame, guilt, denial, rejection, and indifference originates from. Society has been known to blame the victim. In turn, we blame ourselves. The blame game doesn't help us move forward, especially when the truth is that you were victimized. That doesn't mean we should be out seeking pity. Pity keeps us stuck in the story and in the victimization mode. We want to become strong in the broken places. Societal stigmas might be getting better, but they're still out there. And each of us is responsible for breaking our own conditioning linked to things that just aren't true about ourselves, if we are going to experience greater change. Much of society puts us in a category of fallen from grace. Really? Find your grace. We can regain the innocence that we were originally born with. But we can utilize that grace from a place of mature wisdom. So what is grace? What is grace? Grace can be a deep sense of peace and ease when we feel divine forces at work outside of ourselves. Though we may not fully understand or comprehend the energy, it comes with the serenity in not knowing. To find our original grace and innocence, it helps to go to the origination point where it was taken away. That would mean the setup to the abuse, not necessarily the actual event. The setup, meaning groomed, conditioned, gaslighted. It means societal programming, ancestral history, maybe even something from another timeline. And I am dropping the idea of timeline without getting into the theory of that for the moment. Now I'd like you to do a little prep for the healing process by giving some examples of the emotions that hold us back. They will help you to identify what your soul wants to release first. Words with similar meanings impact us differently based on our individual experience. Our perceptions are shaped by our individual experience. All of our stories have a unique twist. This will help you think about yours. Exploring your inner being as an observer helps you identify where you feel broken and what imprinted you in negative ways. The idea here is to recognize how the drama started so you can let it go without the additional drama. Problems get resolved when we identify the source of the problem. You can pause and make some notes anytime you like. So here are some examples. I've provided additional thoughts in the resources tab on the web. Shame. Shame could be accompanied by feeling embarrassed, disgraced, flawed, unworthy, ridiculed, and criticized. So, for example, someone saying, "What makes you think you're so special?" Being told you're stupid. Everyone suffers, why shouldn't you? Again, these are not to trigger you, these are to help you identify your own words. Blame is the idea that somehow it was our fault. It's not unusual for others to blame the victim when something bad happens. People want to deny their responsibility and want to blame everybody else. Maybe you heard some version of, "Well, you asked for it," or "You made me do it." That sets us up to blame ourselves when we were not to blame. Guilt is the idea that we could have prevented it, especially when we question ourselves if in some way we did ask for it. Then you question yourself, did I deserve it? Is it my fault? No, you didn't. And no, it's not your fault. When we are made to feel responsible, that imprints guilt. That gets stuck in our cellular memory. Even if we think that we are deserving of good, guilt is imprinted and it imprints unworthiness. And that's when we unconsciously create self-sabotage. We know that some religious organizations are notorious for instilling guilt into our brain. That doesn't make all aspects of religion bad. It's not what I'm saying. We also know that many sexual abusers are narcissists and psychopaths. They are really good at manipulating us into thinking that everything is our fault. When the truth is, we were not to blame and we should not feel guilty. We should not be holding any guilt for someone else's criminal act and bad behavior. Denial. Maybe we were not believed. Or maybe we were surrounded by those who didn't want to believe. They didn't want to believe the abuse ever happened. Maybe you were even told to forget about it because it would be embarrassing for you. When in reality, it was embarrassing for the person who said that to you. There are many forms of denial. Maybe somebody outright called you a liar. But as Mark Twain says, I know this is cliche, denial ain't just a river in Egypt. If we deny our traumatic events to ourselves and try to escape it, what happens? Remember the Freud quote? we're going to have to deal with it in some uglier way. Denial becomes stuck in the cellular memory and causes a lot of physical, mental, emotional pain and illness. Denial causes us to feel numb, and numb is being out of our body and not in present, and does not allow for fulfillment. So the good news is, if you're pissed off and angry, at least you feel something. That helps you move up the vibrational scale. And the vibrational scale will be discussed in detail in session 2. Rejection. We feel rejected when we aren't believed. We feel rejected when others believe the abuser. Maybe even they defended their actions. Crazy. In turn, we reject ourselves and feel unlovable. And this dips into that feeling of abandonment and being neglected. While it's true that we must learn to love ourselves, we want to do that without the lip service. We want it to be real, not fake. We first need to release the false beliefs. We must learn to accept aspects of ourselves. And we need to understand what love really is without the warped perceptions or codependence. Indifference is when others try to treat it like it was no big deal. We end up feeling dismissed, and we feel more rejected. We feel shamed, alone, and abandoned. We feel like others just don't care. And if they don't care, why should we care? Again, creating that feeling of being unlovable. Sometimes we care so little that we turn another form of abuse onto ourselves. Is that really not caring, or is that a really bad way to mask the pain? Some people are uncomfortable dealing with abuse, and because of their discomfort, they tell you to just get over it. It's not that simple. And that makes you feel rejected. There is no justice in someone saying, just get over it. Re-victimization is created when you feel guilty, that you haven't already gotten over it. And the last thing we need to do is be re-victimized and re-victimized by ourselves. Healing is a process, and if you follow a conscious path, your soul will guide you. It's why the processing at the end of each session is so important. Creating a safe space is why the role of the observer is important. The observer takes you out of fight or flight survival mode. If it is too painful for you to look at some of your history, remember to do that when you have facilitated help. You can ask yourself, how would it feel if your story happened to somebody else? See if that allows you to be more objective about your own story. And that's part of being the observer. How would you feel if it was your own child? And I recognize many of you had that experience. Be your own parent. Being an observer takes you out of the fear-based ego. It's not the same as denial. Notice sensations, but take yourself out of the equation. And this is not to deny that you were a victim. It's to remind you that you're no longer a victim. To remind you that you're more than a survivor. Do not deny your abuse because somebody else had it worse. When you're observing, see what you see, hear what you hear, feel what you feel, and notice what you know it. Anger is a defense mechanism, even when it serves a purpose. Embrace it so you can release it. There are times you will need to get your anger out. Honor yourself by getting it out of your body. Sit with your anger. Embrace it until it feels ridiculous to hold on to. Use your journal and remember this quote. Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. So before we start this process, I want to introduce one more concept, just one more concept, I promise. Cord cutting. Some of you may have heard of this. For those of you who haven't, this is when you energetically tap into your spirit, go into your body, and you see where you have attachment to toxicity. Then you use your intention to cut, pull, and release that band of consciousness. Rather than cut cords, I do prefer to dissolve them. Because when we cut cords, something can grow back because there's a root left behind. I like to get it out. The energy that you're taking out, you can send it down into the earth, where the energy can be transmuted into something that is valuable to this life. Please remember, everything in this world has vibration and energy. Everything. And we'll talk about that more as we go along as well. But as far as the energy that you're pulling, you can seal it up and ask your guides and angels to carry it away from you. You can take a person, a feeling, an energy, and you can put it in a protective bubble or a cage and send them away. It's just that process by releasing it that helps you feel that empowerment. There are many, many, many ways you can imagine sending energy away. When we dissolve the cords, we resolve emotions. This creates space to receive something greater. Be aware there are many layers, and as something reappears, there could be a related aspect of trauma that needs to be released. This is about clearing the energy, not necessarily cutting somebody out. Use your own intuitive guidance on this. We can ask for higher guidance and divine intervention. The question, if I knew, is a great tool when you feel stuck. If I knew, what is my body trying to tell me? If I knew, what is my soul trying to tell me? It gets us out of the overthinking and gets us into our heart space. So use your heart space during the processing. This is how we learn to integrate the mind-body-spirit connection. Reconnect, reclaim those missing pieces of yourself. Please remember, this is just the introduction. When you start to release trauma and drama, you will see how it impacts your outer world. If you feel stuck, numb, or resistance, ask yourself, is it a fear? Is it denial? And then ask, is staying in fear and denial worth all the other drama it causes? Since this is the first session, this is the introduction. Our process will be simpler. The processes in the subsequent sessions will be a lot deeper. The focus on this session is grounding and learning about releasing the cords and releasing anger. So before you start the processing, take a bathroom break, grab some water. If you want to lay down rather than sit, prepare for that. Restart to the next video whenever you're ready. You can use essential oils, you can use crystals. They can enhance your experience, but remember they are a focus tool, they're not the solution. Thank you so much for being here with this first session. See you soon.